Today we're looking into a really compelling and controversial story. It's about a man who built this huge drug empire right in Harlem back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and what's so striking is how he did it. He basically sidestepped the whole traditional mafia structure that dominated things back then.
Totally. His story is just so wild. It's, inspired books, movies. We want to dig into what actually happened behind all the hype.
Exactly. It's fascinating because this guy didn't just join the game. He saw how it worked, found the weaknesses, and built something completely different. He really sort of rewrote the rules for drug trafficking at the time.
So let's start near the beginning. He grew up in North Carolina. Details are a bit murky, but there are hints of poverty, maybe a specific incident, something about his cousin and the KKK.
Right, there are those stories. Hard to pin down the absolute truth, you know? But these kinds of origin stories, true or not, they definitely add to the legend.
Definitely sets a scene. Anyway, he moves up to Harlem, and his early days, there were more, shall we say, conventional crime, robbery, stealing jewelry.
Mm-hmm. Small-time stuff, initially.
But then there was a shooting, apparently over a drug deal gone wrong, and that got him noticed by a pretty big name in the Harlem underworld.
And that move to Harlem was key, wasn't it? Right place, right time. If you're looking for that kind of enterprise, put him right in the mix with the existing powers.
Yeah, and this figure he connected with, he was a gangster, controlled gambling, extortion, that sort of thing. Our guy became his, well, maybe protege? Some say just a driver or flunky.
The relationship's a bit debated, but what seems clear is the ambition.
Oh, absolutely. Huge ambition.
Wow.
He apparently said he wanted to be Donald Trump rich. That wasn't just talk either. He was known for being meticulous, planning things out. He called it backtracking, locking himself away to strategize.
That combination, the massive ambition and that really focused planning, that's what makes him different. He wasn't just reacting, he was actively building, strategizing, and wanting to be Trump rich. That tells you something about the scale he was thinking on, way beyond typical street-level stuff.
Okay, now here's where it pivots. He spots this major weakness. The Italian mafia had a stranglehold on heroin in Harlem. His idea, just cut him out, go straight to the source.
Which was incredibly bold.
Right. So he decides to travel to Southeast Asia. And this is during the Vietnam War.
Think about that. At the time, heroin mostly came through, Turkey, Europe, then the mafia networks in the U.S. To just decide, I'm going around all that. It took incredible nerve, but also a real understanding of global stuff, logistics, opportunity.
And he finds this key contact in Bangkok. A bar owner apparently had links to U.S. Army folks there. And get this, also had some kind of connection to our guy's family back home.
That connection was crucial. Open doors.
Led him straight to the Golden Triangle. He sees the poppy field, sees the heroin labs, and crucially, sets up his own direct supply line.
That was the game changer. Cutting out all those middlemen, he controlled the quality, he controlled the price. Suddenly, he had a massive edge over the mafia.
But how to get it back? This is where it gets really infamous. He reportedly recruited U.S. military personnel, which points to some serious corruption. Right?
Oh, absolutely. At various levels, potentially.
And then there's the big one. The claim he used the coffins of dead American soldiers to smuggle the heroin. He's talked about it himself. Custom coffins, false bottoms.
But his main contact over there, the guy who helped set things up, he denied it. Said they used furniture, hollowed out furniture, not coffins.
So who do you believe? It's hard to say for sure. The coffin story is definitely more dramatic, makes for a better movie scene,
Exactly, it's part of the legend now. But the conflicting accounts, they remind us to be a bit skeptical. Whatever the method, though, using military channels, exploiting that system, it shows his ingenuity, but also the moral vacuum, really.
Once the heroin was stateside, he needed distribution.
Mm-hmm.
He brought in family, people from North Carolina. They became known as the country boys.
Mm-hmm. Loyalty was key. And apparently they had a reputation.
A pretty violent one by most accounts. That helped him hold his territory.
Using family, people you trust or think you can trust, that's classic organized crime strategy. Minimizes risk. And the country boys' name, it sets them apart from the established Harlem crews.
His marketing. Simple but effective. A purer product. He called it Blue Magic.
Became a brand.
Huge demand. But also, tragically, a lot more overdoses because it was so strong.
Yeah, the purity drove the business, but also the devastation. It's a grim kind of marketing success.
And the stories about production. Like, using naked women in surgical masks to cut the heroin, supposedly to stop them stealing it.
Wild stuff highlights the paranoia, the extreme measures taken to protect the product and profits in that world.
And the profits were insane. Claims of millions a day, money stashed offshore, investments in regular businesses, dry cleaners, gas stations, real estate.
Laundering the money, trying to make it look legitimate, classic move.
He was rubbing shoulders with celebrities, even had a movie deal in the works that fell through. Lifestyle-wise, sometimes flashy, the famous fur coat, the jewelry, but other times, apparently, he dressed down, tried to fly under the radar.
That contrast is interesting, isn't it? The need to project power and wealth, but also the fear of attracting too much attention from the wrong people, like law enforcement. The celebrity connections just show how lines can blur.
But yeah, that attention eventually came. Police corruption had helped him operate for a while. Apparently, one NYPD unit was particularly known for it.
Corruption is often the grease in the wheels for these kinds of operations, allows them to flourish.
But then, a special narcotics task force was set up over in New Jersey, led by a prosecutor who couldn't be bought. That started to change things.
An incorruptible figure leading a dedicated team. That's a serious threat. Suddenly, the game got a lot harder.
They raided his house in Teaneck, New Jersey, found a ton of cash, other stuff, but couldn't immediately tie him directly to the drug operation itself.
Needed that direct link. Physical evidence wasn't quite enough.
The break came from inside. His own nephew started cooperating with the investigators, gave them everything they needed.
Betrayal from within. That's often the downfall, isn't it? Even in the tightest crews. The nephew's cooperation was the key that unlocked the whole thing for the prosecution.
Yeah. The trial featured some powerful testimony about blue magic, how devastating it was. Someone talked about the sheer number of deaths it caused. Chilling.
Really bringing home the human cost.
He was found guilty.
Yeah.
Initial sentence, 70 years.
A long time. Facing that kind of sentence changes calculations.
Absolutely. He decided to become an informant, started giving up names, mafia figures, corrupt cops. That got his sentence reduced significantly.
A risky move in that world, cooperating. Huge benefits potentially, but also massive danger.
Then, ironically, after he gets out, he gets busted again, trying to set up a drug deal. And guess who his defense lawyer was?
Let me guess.
The same prosecutor who put him away the first time.
Wow, that is something else. Speaks volumes about the strange relationships that can form. He ended up back in prison though, right?
Yep. Another sentence. After he got out that time, though, he seemed different. Expressed remorse, talked about the harm he'd caused.
A change of heart. Or maybe just facing mortality. Hard to say.
He got involved with his daughter's charity, helping kids whose parents are incarcerated. Published an autobiography, said he wanted to promote education.
Trying to build a different kind of legacy, perhaps. Reconcile with the past.
He did have one last run-in with the law, though. Tried to cash a disability check twice. Got probation, mainly because he was old and sick by then. He died in 2019.
So, a long and incredibly turbulent life, right to the end.
And circling back to the cultural impact, the movie American Gangster, based on his life, some of the real people were even involved in making it.
Which always adds a layer of perceived authenticity.
And some parts line up pretty well with the known facts, or at least the stories. The drug smuggling, maybe not the coffins exactly, but the method. Recruiting the country boys. There was a public shooting incident he was involved in, though his story on that changed later. And yeah, the fur coat moment.
The iconic stuff makes it in. But movies always take liberties, don't they? For drama.
For sure. There are big differences, too. How Bumpy Johnson died in the film, not how it reportedly happened. The detective character's personal life was mostly made up. His wife's background in the movie wasn't accurate either.
Right, and the prosecutor, the real one, apparently felt the movie made him seem like much more of a family man than he really was. Screenwriters crafting a character.
Yeah, shaping the narrative. It's also worth remembering the government seized pretty much everything. He didn't have much money when he first got out of prison.
The financial consequences finally caught up.
In that relationship with the detective who brought him down, it was incredibly complicated. There was apparently a hit ordered on the detective at one point, but later that same detective helped our guy's son.
It's just layers upon layers. Shows how personal and tangled these things can get, beyond just cops and robbers.
The whole story even inspired a concept album by a major rapper. Shows the cultural footprint.
Definitely captured the public imagination.
So, when you step back and look at it all, it's just such a complex picture, isn't it? You've got this guy, unbelievable ambition, ruthless methods, real business smarts.
But also, later in life, expressing regret for the immense damage caused by his empire.
It really touches on these big themes, wealth, power, corruption. The American dream twisted into something criminal. And the devastating impact of the drug trade, especially on communities like Harlem back then.
Yeah, the human cost is just undeniable.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About how his actions ripple outwards, still felt today. And maybe how we as a society sometimes romanticize these outlaw figures.
It's a potent mix of admiration for the audacity and horror at the consequences.
Definitely. It's a stark look at a very specific time and place in American history. A time of, well, both opportunity and really deep systemic problems.